So, if you want to know how Cubeatz makes crazy samples in the style of Drake, this is the perfect video for you. Yo guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how Cubeatz makes crazy samples from scratch in the style of Drake and 21 Savage. So I got this crazy vintage sample which I'm about to break down, and you have already heard it, so please let me know in the comments if y'all like the sample. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I've got a new cam and it sometimes glitches, but I hope it doesn't for this video. So if so, I'm really sorry and I'm trying to fix that. And I don't want to keep the intro too long, so if you want to get some of my kits, make sure to check out the description and the comments and use code Luca20 for 20% off. Please make sure to leave a like and a comment, and please make sure to subscribe. That would really mean a lot. And with that being said, yeah guys, let's go. So I started off with Omnisphere, but to be more precise, I used the Keyscape creative library and I used the Silverly Celeste preset, and I left it how it was, and all I did was laying down this A sharp minor chord, then having this F sharp note just for like a transition note, and then I just built this simple top line. And as you can see right here, I changed up the A sharp minor chord a bit, so I basically moved the C sharp to a C and this F to an F sharp, and then just copied it up again. And I played a bit with the top line. As you can see right here, I left the F sharp right there, put an F right here, and then I have this F sharp and F on the top line, and all I really just did was pressing Alt and S just to strum the chords, and I pressed Alt and R just to randomize it. As you can see, it's just there to make it sound more realistic, and the finished bell pattern is sounding like this. Then for the effects on this bell, I have this 3D parametric EQ, which basically does nothing. Then this RC20, where I just had it on for the wobble. Then this Valhalla vintage verb for the mix, the pre-delay, the decay, and the low cut. Then this EQ, where I cut a lot of the lows and some of the low mids and ducked some of the highs. Then this simple soothe on its default settings. And I have this EQ, where I just cut out some of the lows again and ducked like one frequency that I didn't really like from the low mids. Then after that, I ran out the bell melody out and I put some effects on there, which is this shaper box, which basically is just on there to pan it from left to right. Then this simple portal with the trace waves preset, this halftime on its default settings, this EQ just to cut out some of the lows, this simple soothe on a hard setting and the knob to 4.1, then this EQ just to cut out some lows again and to duck some of the highs just to make it sound more vintage, and I have it 25% in stereo. Then for the next thing, I opened Keyscape and I used the LA Custom C7 cinematic piano, and all I did was just turning off the reverb. And as you can see right here, I have this A sharp minor chord again, and then for the next thing, I just copied it and copied it up and copied it again, copied it up again, and then I just copied it up again, changed the C to a C sharp again. And for the second part of these 4 bars, I just reversed it, as you can see, and then just copied it over, and I randomized the velocities, and as you can see, I strummed it a bit, and that's really all I did. And the finished piano pattern is sounding like this. And for the effects, I had the same effects that I had on the first bell before I ran it out. Then after that, I used Contact and I used the Django lead from the Django Gypsy guitar, and I left it on its default settings, and all I did was just laying down the simple top line just to complement the bell a bit more. As you can see, I randomized the velocities. I have some like little chords right here just to make it sound more interesting, and I strummed it, as you can see, and the finished guitar pattern is sounding like this. And for the effects on this guitar, I have this RC20 where I had the vinyl 1 preset on, but I turned everything off besides the wobble and the EQ. Then I had the simple fresh air where I had the mid air to 19% and the high air to 32%. Then the simple Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay, and the low cut. Then this simple soothe where I had it on its default settings, I just turned the depth to 2.0. Then this simple EQ where I just cut a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs just to make it sound more vintage, and I had it 27% in stereo. Then for the next thing, I got this accent which is out of the used Shiva kit, and as you can see, I just lowered the volume, and that's all I did. And for the second accent, it's the same accent but I reversed it, just that it has like a clean transition and it plays all the time, and that's really all I did. And the accent is sounding like this. And now for the most important part with the sample, I have these flutes, which are flutes from Splice. And the first one is the Mercurial Flute Groove Fixation, which was in 68 BPM and in F sharp minor, so I pitched it up by 4 and I time stretched it, and as you can see it was like in reverse flute, but I pressed the reverse button again just that it's like a normal flute phrase, and as you can see I lowered the volume as well, and then I just chopped it up that it's on time. And for the second flute I got this flute riff 2 AM Leslie filtered chop reverse flute phrase, and I pitched it up by 4 again, put the mode to stretch, load the volume, and I chopped it up again as you can see right here, and I have this little volume automation, and that's really all I did for these flutes. And the flutes together are sounding like this. And for the effects on these flutes, I have this RC20 just for the wobble again, and I had the EQ option on. Then this fresh air with the mid air to 19% and the higher to 32%. Then this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the pre-delay and the low cut. Then this simple soothe where I had the depth to 1.8 and everything else is on its default settings. Then this simple EQ where I just cut out some of the lows and added 28% in stereo. Then for the low end, which is the bass line, I have this LA Custom C7 cinematic piano again, and all I really just did was laying down these A sharp notes. And then for the last part I put in higher A sharp note right there, and I randomized the velocities, so it's basically just the root notes from the bell, and that's all I did. And the finished bass line is sounding like this. Then for the effects on this bass piano, I have this simple soothe on its hard setting and the knob to 9.1. Then this simple arc compressor where I had the threshold to -16.3 and the ratio to 1.64 and the gain to 2.7. Then this simple decapitator where I played with the drive, the tone and the style. Then this simple EQ where I just cut out some of the muddy lows and I had it 100% in mono. And now for one of the most important parts where making my samples is the mastering chain. And on the mastering chain I have this Apex Vintage Exciter stereo from Waves where I had it on these settings. Then this Chroma Tape stereo with the mastering clean and open preset. This Abbey Road vinyl stereo with the creamy strings preset, and I think I just tweaked the noise, the crackle and the clicks. Then this L1 limiter, which is self-explanatory, which is basically just on there to make the sample louder. This sound shift the pitch stereo from Waves where I pitch it up by 3, and this simple EQ where I just cut out some of the lows and ducked some of the highs. And now I will show you all the sample with and without the mastering chain, but first of all, this is the sample without the mastering chain. And now this is the sample with the mastering chain. And now for the beat breakdown, the first thing I obviously did was dragging in the sample and I pitched it up by 1 and I put the mode to stretch, declicking mode to generic and the trim knob to 100%. Then the first thing I did for the beat was just laying down this pretty simple hi-hat pattern, and all I really just did was picking the beautiful hi-hat out of my stash 2023, which is available right now. Y'all make sure to get that with code Luca20. And I think I picked the first hi-hat MIDI as you can see right here, and I just copied it over, changed it up a bit, and the finished hi-hat pattern is sounding like this. Then for the next thing I got this Ardent snare out of the stash 2023 as well, and I just picked it and went to the clap section and picked the clap 8 bars pattern. So you just have this default clap pattern which sounds like this. Then for the next thing I picked the 1 snare out of the Prod DB and the Wizard kit, and I laid down this pretty simple snare pattern which is just like some accent snares to make the beat more interesting, and the snare pattern with everything else is sounding like this. Then after that I had this short open hat which sounds like this. And then I have this 808 pattern which is pretty simple as you can see. I just have some Rhodes right here and some higher notes right there, and I just put the 808 notes on the bass line, well basically on the root notes from the sample, and I cranked up the volume by 100%, and that's all I did for these 808s. And the 808 pattern with the finished beat and everything else is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot. And if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a comment just for the algorithm. So just comment if you like this beat or not. And if you have some video suggestions for future videos, please make sure to drop them in the comments as well. And as I said, if you want to get some of my kits, make sure to check the links in the description and the comments. And thank you for all this crazy support. And with that being said, yeah guys, see y'all.